Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 210 of Screw the Commute podcast. We're here with Army veteran Erika Hatfield, and if you saw her, you would think she's not even old enough to be in grade school, let alone be in the Army, a veteran. So she's got that anti-aging people that all the older women envy. So we'll bring her on in a minute, tell you about her cool business. Episode 209 was also a veteran, Lee Mosler. He's a veteran that's built a lifestyle business so he can homeschool his son. Very inspiring episode. Now, check out our podcast app in the App Store. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with it, and we have complete instructions on how to use it at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. And yeah, you can do all kinds of cool stuff, even if you're listening to a podcast, the phone rings, you answer it, it automatically pauses the podcast. When you hang up, it puts it back on right where it was. So it's pretty cool. All right, and also as a thank you for listening, grab a copy of our ebook, How to Automate Your Business. Just one of the tips in this book has saved me over 7.5 million keystrokes and allowed me to handle up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. And we sell it for $27, but it's yours free as my thanks for listening. And while you're at it, at the download page, there's another white paper that some people are charging $4,000, $5,000, and $6,000 for the information. So check that out on the download page. It's a little surprise for you at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. And all the links and things we talk about today and Erika's stuff will be in the show notes. This is episode 210. So to get to our show notes for a particular episode, you always go to screwthecommute.com and then / and then the number 210 for this episode. All right, our sponsor is the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. It's a distance learning school. Hey, we got approved by the Department of Defense for a military spouse scholarship program. So we give a scholarship to all military, law enforcement, and first responders, and the Department of Defense gives an extra one to military spouses that are eligible. So make sure you check that out if you want a nice lifestyle business, and it's portable so you can take it with you wherever you happen to be stationed. It's really something I've been living for 25 years now. Just love it. So you can check that out at imtcva.org, imtcva.org. That's Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. And it doesn't matter that it's in Virginia, it's distance learning. So you can learn from anywhere. And the beauty of this is you can work from anywhere because companies don't want to pay a lot of money to have you sitting around writing blog posts in their office and paying all this big rent when they could be letting you do it at home. So check it out. And if you are military, put /military after that. And of course, it'll all be in the show notes. All right, let's get to the main event. Erika Hatfield has worked as a professional photographer for over 12 years. After completing her master's degree in education and finding out that working in a school was not a good fit for her, she started a second business called Next Level Photo Education. She develops courses for kids and adults and mentors aspiring professional photographers. Erika, are you ready to screw the commute?
Yes.
I'm good. Boy, before we started recording here, it's a small world, isn't it?
Really is.
You live right now in where?
Washington, Pennsylvania.
And we met actually in Washington, D.C., right, through the Military Influencers Conference. And I'm from Claysville, Pennsylvania, which is 8 miles from Washington, Pennsylvania, where you live now, which is just crazy because nobody is from there.
Right. That's why I usually say Pittsburgh.
Right.
And, because people don't know Washington, and nobody knows Claysville. So
Right.
that's just so funny that you're
You,
from down the road.
you know what else is funny is you did call it Washington, and I just called it Washington, but nobody there calls it Washington.
Washington.
They call it Washington, right? But when I moved to Washington, D.C., and people said, well, where are you from? Well, if you said Washington, you'd just be screaming that you're the biggest hick on earth. So I was always saying Washington. But what was really odd was when I would call home to my mother or dad, talk to them on the phone, I'd say Washington, because that's what they're used to. So so pretty crazy. So tell everybody what you're doing now.
So I work mainly as a personal brand photographer. So I work with business owners. I take pictures of them at work or their headshots or with their family or whatever aspect of their personal brand that they want to photograph. I also photograph some families and seniors, but my main focus now is on teaching.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever do any shots for like people that want to get on Match.com or they want shots for their online dating?
Yes, I have. And actually, my husband's best friend, he's single, he's 6'9", and I actually just took his pictures for his dating
Would you
profile.
have to stand on a ladder? You're like
I did,
3'9" or something.
but
Yeah,
I definitely needed a ladder.
yeah, 6'9". Wow. So so you're teaching this though now. How are you? How do you teach photography?
So I have a 4-month mentorship program, and right now I have several photographers that we talk every Tuesday, hour every week. We developed a plan at the beginning, so we went through every aspect of their businesses, from photography to editing to marketing to even having the right message and what niche they're photographing and being focused and having a plan. So each week we have different goals that we work on. We review photography that they have taken throughout the week and go from there and set new goals. So it's a comprehensive 4-month program.
Wow. And is this so they don't have to be there in person for this?
Nope, we do it all by Zoom, or usually Zoom, so I can send them a recording, but I can also use other video.
But is this all the business part of it, or do you critique their work and pictures and stuff?
This is for every aspect of running a photography business. So we look at photography every week throughout the whole program. And then we also work on all the other aspects, and it's completely customized. So, maybe one person's really good at marketing and that's not something we really need to work on, but they need help with editing. So I look at the whole business and everything this person's doing before I even decide what we're going to work on together.
Well, you know what makes me want to commit suicide is trying to find a picture that I know I have.
You don't have your files organized?
Oh, sure. I know they're all on the computer somewhere. So you got some on the phone, you got some in the cloud, you got some on the PC, you got some on the iMac, and you figure, oh, I'm just going to go to lunch. I'm never going to find that picture. So what do you use to keep your photos organized?
Oh, I organize them in files as soon as I import them, and then they're backed up online. They're backed up on a hard drive that I can plug in.
All right, but how do you name them?
So for my clients' images, I actually named them with their names.
Of course, yeah.
But our personal images, I just organize by folder, by month. Then I'll do subfolders if there's a larger event or something that I want to make sure I can find. But I usually just do them by month.
Yeah, but what about 3 years from now? You can't remember what month you took a picture, and let's say you went to the North Pole, visited Santa Claus. Well, you knew that was in December, but how would you name a picture like if you went on a trip with your husband to Bermuda or something? Did it all say Bermuda, or how?
Oh, I make a folder. So if there's something important, say October, if I took some random pictures, they weren't really for anything, they just go in the October folder. If I take some pictures of Halloween Day, they're in a subfolder called Halloween 2019.
Yeah, but how would you find those random ones that you took
Search.
in October? What would you, how would you
just
name
use my
them?
Finder. Halloween, or whatever I would have named the folder. If it was a trip, it would have been the name of the trip. If it was an event, it was the name of the event. So I always do a subfolder for anything I think I'm going to want to find
You're
later.
making it sound too easy. You're a 12-year professional. This 25-year-old hacker over here can never find anything.
Mac gives you a finder. It is easy.
Well, on the iMac, yeah, but I got the, you just never know. Is the photo on your phone? Is it in the iCloud? Is it on my PC? Is it in the iMac? And another thing, see, I'm not really a Mac person, so I thought, hey, all right, you go use the Finder, right? That seems logical to me, but then there's this other thing called the Spotlight. What's that?
I really don't understand the difference, to be honest.
Yeah,
between the
yeah.
two.
I'm like, oh, maybe I should be using this. Yeah, so anyway, if I ever commit suicide, it'll be because you didn't teach me how to find my photos. So
Well, you got to get them in one place first.
Oh, yeah, God. And then what happens when you have 48 copies of the same one? How's that work?
Well, then you need to clean out some files. You should definitely be able to find it if you have 48 copies of it.
So anyway, do these courses start all? I mean, does somebody have to start at a certain time, or they can start at any time?
Now, my mentorship
Yeah,
program,
right.
you can start at any time, but it is required that you already know how to shoot in manual mode. So you need to know how to set your settings in your camera. I have a different e-course for that. And that's not necessarily just for photographers, because I feel like a lot of people learn how to use their camera. I've had business owners that, shoot with a DSLR for certain things. So that e-course just lets you go through at your own pace and learn how to use all the different settings on your camera.
Yeah, well, I have a 7D, a Canon 7D, but I only use it for video. And I just barely get that job done too, because the audio sucks. So you got to do a separate audio for the video and then sync them up later. So thank God for cell phones. So how long have you run this business?
I started this business 2 years ago.
Oh, the mentor part of it, right? But you've been...
I wasn't mentoring at first when I started it. Because I have my master's degree in education. I started it because I was photographing kids mainly. That was my market. And every January, here it snows, it's freezing. We're not doing any outdoor pictures. So it's just that slow time of year where there's nothing to do. So I thought, what if I could bring in some kids from the community, teach them how to use cameras, or iPads. They could take pictures with iPads for this class, whatever it is. So I was trying to fill that gap in my schedule where I don't have as many photo sessions as I normally do, and also do something to give back to the community. So that's how it actually started. I was just going to teach some kids photography classes.
What ages were you doing?
They were from 6 up to 15.
Oh, wow.
So I ran several different classes, different age groups. And I had kids that had, your camera, and I had kids that shot with shattered iPads, and they all loved it.
Shattered iPads, yeah. And that was in Washington?
It was, yes.
Yeah. Let's take you back. Were you entrepreneurial as a child, a kid? Did you have lemonade stands or what?
No, I was one of those wild little kids that is just always running, doing something. I really haven't changed. I always wanted to do everything. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I mean, honestly, I'm still not sure.
Well,
who knows what else I might do.
I heard somebody say, don't worry if your kids don't know what they want to be when they grow up. It probably hasn't been invented yet. That's the way things are going.
True now.
So, were your parents entrepreneurial?
My dad actually is a business owner.
What's he do?
He rents apartments.
Oh, okay. Did you ever help him with that?
I did.
Yeah.
And then I realized I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. And then you, did you ever have a job?
You mean when I was younger?
Yeah. Anytime, yeah.
I did some different teenager jobs, babysitting, cashier. I worked at my cousin's farm for a little while, and several restaurants. The King's Family Restaurant in Claysville. I worked there. So I just kind of tried some different things, but before I graduated high school, I thought, I either want to be a teacher or an artist or doctor. I had those three things picked out,
Okay.
and I had no idea what I was going to go to college for. And um, but I didn't go to college right after high school, so I didn't have to have my decision
Well,
yet.
is that where you went in the Army?
Yes.
Okay. So how was that decision? Well, what made that decision?
Well, I enlisted at 17, and then I had to wait till I finished high school so I could go to basic training. And a big part of it was that I didn't know what I wanted to do yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what I was going to do next year, and I wanted to go away from Washington, Pennsylvania, and experience
how
something new.
how
And
could somebody want to leave that beautiful area, Claysville? People wait their whole lives to have vacation in Claysville, don't they?
well, this dusting of snow we have and
Oh,
freezing temperatures.
you
I
can
don't know how
have my
anyone was
share.
going to leave.
You can have my share. Hey, next time you go back there, tell me how high the grass is at my that house of mine, because I haven't been up there for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I'll take a picture.
oh, good idea. Perfect. Yeah, yeah. Put it in November's folder. Tell me about the Army. What'd you do in the Army?
So I was a medic,
Oh,
and when I finished training, I was at Fort Irwin. And when they told me I was going to California, I pictured California like you see on TV, and that's not what Fort Irwin is like. It's in the middle of the desert. It took an hour and a half to go to a restaurant, and
oh my God.
it's even more secluded than Washington. I'm thinking I'm going to California. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to a town smaller than my hometown in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I actually worked at the aid station, so I ran sick call in the morning and helped soldiers with doctor's appointments, things like that.
All
And
right, but you're a medic. Can you fix a sucking chest wound?
not anymore, but
Okay.
back then.
I heard this one guy say, I don't know, it was a general or somebody said, the sound of a sucking chest wound is God's way of telling you need to slow down. Or something like that. So you're from Washington originally?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Wow. You're definitely the first person on this podcast from that area. So, so what, when you got out, then what'd you do?
So I was 8 months pregnant when I got out of the
Yikes.
Army with my oldest daughter,
Uh-huh.
and we actually moved to Texas for a while. We did not want to come back to Washington.
Okay.
So we lived in Texas, and I actually worked as a nanny and took my daughter to work with me for a little while. I
Oh.
loved that job. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And about 6 months later, my family was pushing, and I wanted to go back to school and finish my education. So we, ended up back here in Washington. We moved back in the summer of, 2006, and came back to Washington.
And you went to, what'd you do? Go to W&J or something?
I went, okay, the school thing, I kind of went to a lot of schools.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start by saying that. But yeah, I came back to go to W&J, and I was pre-med because, getting out of the Army as a medic, I thought,
Oh.
okay, I'm going to stay in the medical field, forget the art, forget the
Mhm.
teaching. I'm going to be a doctor. So
Okay.
I go to W&J, and I'm a bio psych major in the pre-med program. And a year later, I had another baby. And after my second was born, 3 months later, okay, get ready for this.
I'm ready.
I got pregnant again.
Oh, geez. 3 months later?
Yeah.
Yikes.
So
You're a
I
busy
had
girl.
my second and third daughters are 363 days apart.
Oh, my.
Almost a year. I managed to have the same due date 2 years in a row. So at that point, I decided that finishing as a pre-med student and going to medical school was probably not going to work with our new lifestyle of madness. So the funny thing that happened, it was almost Christmas time, and we needed some extra money to go holiday shopping. So I thought, well, I'll get a seasonal job, and we'll see how it goes. So I start working at JCPenney's portrait studio.
Well, who's going to watch the 3 kids?
Oh, we have Nana for that. We had grandma.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
that was one of the perks of living
Yes,
back here
right,
in Washington is that grandma can watch the kids.
Yeah.
So I take this part-time job at JCPenney Portrait Studio thinking, well, I'm not a photographer. I don't know anything about taking pictures. So I'm going to be like their secretary and schedule their sessions and stuff like that, you know? Well, that's not how it works at all at JCPenney Portrait Studio. So you have to learn every aspect of the business. You take pictures, you print pictures, you do the
Wow.
orders, you do everything, you know. So shell shock, I found out I have to learn how to be a photographer for this part-time job, and I fell in love with it. So, that made that transition a little easier. I got this part-time job, I got pregnant for the third time in 3 years, and I found something else I loved. So a few months later, I was promoted and I became a manager of a Target portrait studio because they're the same company.
Okay.
And then I did that for about 2 years. And I ran the portrait studio and
Then you
photographed
had
a
6
lot.
more kids.
No, I got
No?
my tubes tied.
Oh. TMI.
Put a
So-
stop to that.
yeah.
No more kids. No more.
Okay, so how did you transition to having your own business then?
So I liked Live Touch. What I loved about it is that we were busy. You have so many people coming into Target and so many kids to photograph that I got a lot of practice quick. So I learned how to photograph and talk to people and work with people. What I didn't like is that the company kept changing things and making it more and more difficult to give my customers what I felt I needed to give them. So, when it got to the point where we had about 40 minutes to photograph a session, show them their pictures, and place their order before the next client came in, I just felt like I was rushing everybody through this process
Right.
way faster than I should have to and way faster than I wanted to. And there was nothing I could do to change it at all. I couldn't give them more time without breaking a company policy. So that's when I decided to start my business. So I left Life Touch in January 2010, and started Erika Hatfield Photography.
Okay, now did you save up money? Did you know how to run a business at the time? How did you make that transition?
I knew photography and nothing else.
Okay.
And I'll say this too, I knew studio photography and
Right.
nothing else because it's all in studio there.
Oh,
So
that's right.
I really didn't know how to shoot outdoors or with different lighting setups and things. I knew how to use studio lighting and that was it. But I thought I knew everything. I thought I was ready. And I spent a long time focused on the photography and how do I get my images to look like those images in the magazines. And that was my focus for a long time.
Focus.
And I spent I spent like 5 years, just learning everything I could about photography, and I wasn't making any money. Honestly, I wasn't, and luckily my husband had a good job, and I kind of had more of a stay-at-home mom role at that time in our lives, so I didn't need to make a certain amount of money, and it was okay. But it started to get frustrating. I'm like, okay, it's been 5 years. I'm not really doing any better financially with this business. So I decided to go back to school and finish. So I went and got my bachelor's degree in elementary education. And then I got my master's degree in special education, thinking this photography thing is not going to work out. It's never going to be profitable. I'm just going to go to work every day and I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to collect a paycheck. That's it. So while I was in school, my youngest daughter got pretty sick. She had to have a kidney transplant.
Oh, man.
After her transplant, her disease came back and we had to go to the hospital a lot. I mean, we were there at least one full day a week. You lose a full work day every single week just from this treatment that was working. It was helping her, but we had to keep going. And that was really what got me thinking again of, I'm in school to be a teacher. How am I going to go to school 4 days a week and have to, go to the hospital with my daughter? I can't be in 2 places at one time. And that's what really made me start missing the flexibility of being a photographer and start wondering, well, what if I could make it work? So that's when I, really started to realize that I needed to learn something about business and not just photography if I wanted to make it work.
But you're pretty good shooting at that time, though, right?
I was. I had the photography skills. I mean, there's always more to learn. There's always something to improve. I'll never stop. But I felt a lot better about where my photography was at, but I didn't know how to actually be profitable at the end of the day. And a lot of what I learned about business was actually from the Vetpreneur tribe and some other people that have mentored me along the way. But the business part was really hard for me to learn. It did not come easy to me.
Well, this is not atypical of people's journey to their business life because life gets in the way, Hospitals get in the way. Education gets in the way. I mean, everything is up and down and all around. It sounds like you've been up and down all over the place, but you stuck in there. That's the thing.
I did. And what I figured out was, a lot of people start their business with I'm going to photograph everything. I photograph kids and weddings and seniors and pets and sports and all these things. And then somebody calls and they say, oh, well, do you do this? Well, that sounds fun. I guess I'll do that too. And then they add that. But what really changed things for me was finding out that I had to focus on one genre or one niche, one specific kind of session. And that made everything else so much easier. So, when I was photographing kids exclusively and families, I taught classes for kids. So,
Right.
Everything I was doing was all tied to that same kind of customer and client, and it made everything so much easier.
Yeah, and word would spread in that community faster too for word of mouth, because I know when I first started speaking, I went to 87 different industries in the first 5 years. And the problem is nobody if I spoke to the Pennsylvania Dry Cleaners Association, they didn't know anybody in the Nebraska Plumbing Association, so no referrals, yes, focusing, absolutely. But I don't look back and cry about it, because that 87 industries gave me an enormous experience. Just like, all the stuff you shot gave you an enormous experience. So
Well, I think that's what led me to the new specialization also, because with personal brand photography, it is a lot of different genres. It's sometimes it's a woman with her family if she's a business owner, studio headshots, outdoor pictures. We could do a whole big variety of different kinds of shoots within a personal brand session. So I am glad I did it. But I definitely like focusing on one thing to market for at least.
But would you turn it down if somebody calls you up and offers you some work?
Well, no, I live in Washington, PA. I've been doing senior sessions all month, even though I don't see seniors.
Yeah.
I can't tell people no.
Yeah, there you go. So,
but I don't advertise for it. So it's not
Right.
like it's work for me to find those clients. Those are clients that are already just coming to me.
So what ways do you market your photography business?
I do mostly word of mouth. And since the beginning of my business, which it was easier in 2010 than it is now, I'd say probably over 75% of my clients have found me through Facebook.
Facebook. So is it you showing your images there, or what part of Facebook? Your personal profile? Do you have a business profile? What?
I'd say both. I think it's really both. I have had the business page for, since I started in 2010. And we have a lot of good local groups where I'll put out information, things like that. There's always those posts of like people looking for a photographer within the local groups, and they, there could be 129 suggestions within 5 minutes because it's such a saturated market. And I don't really find people that way, but it's more about that they know somebody that I've already worked with. They've seen someone else's pictures. Those are the people that call me.
But if you're just putting the stuff out there, is it just you put pictures up, or you just put comments up, or postings up?
I put pictures up. I started to do some live videos. I'm going to get back into that once things slow down and we're not doing construction on the house. But I was doing some live videos for business owners, showing them how to take a better selfie and how to get better lighting for your live videos and things like that. So now that we're transitioning to personal brand photography as our new focus, I'm kind of trying to figure out what people want to know about photography, for business owners. So
Got it. So what's in store? I hear you're going to move?
we are getting our house ready to sell so that we can move somewhere warmer.
Oh, come on. How's Nana going to take Nana with you?
She might try to tag along.
Well, that's your babysitter. Oh, how old are the kids now?
Well, they're 11, 12, and 13 now.
Oh, okay. Where are you thinking about going?
We're talking about South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Well, then you trade the cold for hurricanes. All right, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hurricanes are warm at least. So
Well, the kids said we can take, if there's a hurricane warning, we have to come home and visit our friends.
Perfect. All right, we got to take a little sponsor break. When we come back, we're going to ask Erika what a typical day looks like for her, and maybe she'll get some business tips for those that like to be in business for themselves and not have to go to work every day. And then you might ask her how she stays motivated too. So, hey, everybody, I want you to check out a webinar. If you're even considering higher education for yourself or your kids, you want a better lifestyle, a lifestyle business like Erika and myself have, I want you to check out a webinar. Don't just apply for college and then cross your fingers that you're going to get a marketable skill and not be in debt for the rest of your life. You're really going to be mad when you watch this webinar because it really exposes a lot of the things the higher education people are doing. And one of the things is they're inflating grade point averages to make it look like they're doing a better job of teaching to justify the big raises in tuitions that they come up with pull it out of the hat. And the testing's showing that the kids are dumber. So I don't know if I'd want to mortgage my house to pay for something like that, especially when the studies are showing that the kids are spending 8 hours total preparing and going to class per week. The rest of the time is eating, partying, and shopping. So check out this webinar at screwthecommute.com. You can just click on webinars or go /webinars. And you can either download the MP3 file or watch the actual thing with all the visuals. But it's going to make you mad, but it could save you a couple $100,000. And if I can help you get out of this mess with a good marketable skills school, check out my school at imtcva.org. All right, let's get back to the main event. Erika Hatfield's here. She's an Army veteran. She's a mother of 3. She's apparently a contractor, a construction expert now. from
I don't want to be.
Working on her house. She's sick of the cold. She's a former neighbor that I didn't even know I had. So what's a typical day look like for you, Erika?
I'd say there is no such thing as a typical day in my life.
Well, what time do you get up? You got kids, you get up in the morning, do you work out?
I do not get up in the morning. I'm not a morning person.
Okay.
My husband gets them up for school.
Uh-huh.
And because they're all in middle school this year and the bus comes at like 7 something.
Oh, geez.
It's way too early for me. So I am a night owl and I usually sleep in till at least 10 or noon.
Oh, good for you.
And one of the things
Wait a minute. Everybody listening. Did you hear that? She's got 3 kids and she sleeps until noon sometimes. Isn't that beautiful? That's a beautiful thing right there.
It really is. Plus, it's so much easier to get work done at night when everyone's sleeping.
Why? When it's quiet. Yeah, for sure.
It's quiet. There's no interruptions at 2, 3 a.m. Nobody bothers you.
There you go.
But, I think, I have 2 businesses and then, I also teach for VIP kids. So
we forgot to tell them about that. So on the side, you're doing this English as a second language thing as for fun and a little extra money.
Yeah. And so it's teaching students in China. So they're 12, 13 hours off from what we are. So, total opposite. It's, in the evening, it's their morning. So it's teaching overnights or during the early morning hours that's available. But I really enjoy that. It's just a fun little extra gig. But I think having multiple streams of income is nice.
Yep.
Because especially with us getting ready to move, I never want to put all my eggs in one basket. If something would happen with VIP Kid shuts down next week, I'm still going to be okay.
Right.
But what it does is I don't have a typical day because every day is different. A couple days a week, I might be up all night teaching VIP Kid. I might go to sleep for a little while and get up and go do a session. And every Tuesday I take mentoring calls. So I'd say my weeks are kind of similar, but a typical day, oh no.
I get it.
Who knows?
So you work out?
Not really, not much. I like yoga, but
yeah,
I feel like my life is a workout at this point.
Yeah, I like to watch people doing yoga. That's a lot of that's a lot of fun. So how do you stay motivated?
I'm just motivated.
You're just a motivated person.
I've just always been motivated. I always have a million ideas and go. that's just how I am, I think. And
Yeah.
coffee. There's coffee
You know,
involved.
coffee and ideas. So the people that listen to this, we call them screwballs. So what kind of parting tips would you have them for operating a nice lifestyle business like you have?
I would say choose what's important to you. I work with a lot of business owners where we go in and they've been taking all their own pictures and they're so stressed out about it. You know, I think sometimes it's important to step back and figure out what your strengths are and hire out the ones that aren't. So, even with our personal brand clients, we go in and take all their pictures for their website and their social media, and they have this bank of images, and now they don't have to be stressed about
Hmm.
taking pictures. Um, but I think just really knowing what you're good at and capitalizing on that can help a lot.
There you go. So I got to tell you something you're going to hate as a professional photographer.
Oh,
But
geez.
so I've been around a long time, and long before everybody had a camera in their hand every second. And it used to cost me $440 for a product shot to take a picture of one of my products. And I had to go up and spend the whole day with this guy, and he'd spray dulling spray on all my stuff, and just do this whole rigmarole and end up with one or two shots. so,
Oh
so
my.
so once digital cameras came along, I have this beautiful picture of my product on this beautiful flowing blue background. it was in my laundry room with an old ratty T-shirt leaned over a chair with the with the product leaning up against it.
Oh my.
But it was free and it was pretty, and I still sell them to this day. So I know that professional photographers don't want to hear that, but that's the breaks. So anyway, thanks so much for coming on, and tell them about your website and where they find you. And if we happen to have a listener in Washington that needs or Claysville even, that needs some photography, how do we find you?
Okay, my next level website is nextlevelphotoedu.com, and that's where you can find like my classes and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
mentoring. We have a business or we have a website for our other business, which is hatfieldphotos.com. So that's my photography business. That's where you can find out about actually having pictures taken. And anybody's welcome to add me on Facebook or find my pages. There's a Hatfield Photography and a Next Level page on Facebook, and I'm pretty active on there and LinkedIn as
And your
well.
first name is spelled
Erika.
Erika Hatfield. Run that by me again. So the first site was for the mentor program, or what?
And in the manual mode class.
Okay, and then so we'll have all these in the show notes for everybody, so you can just click on them. But we just passed Veterans Day a week or so ago, so I want to thank you for your service. And if I ever have a sucking chest wound in Washington, I'll know where to go.
I'd rather you
Go
you should
somewhere
probably
else.
you should go to a Pittsburgh hospital and only call me if you need a picture.
All right, sounds good. So thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.